Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Vietnam Veterans Recognition Day in the town of Foxborough. If you would all please stand, we're going to pledge. And the flag is behind you, by the way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you guys would please take your seats. That was Lauren, the department assistant. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michelle Hamilton and I'm the Veteran Service Agent for the town of Foxborough. I get to make a few opening remarks. So it's my honor and privilege to be able to spend my first Vietnam Veterans Recognition Day with all of you here in Foxborough. These ceremonies are always a time of reflection, and this one is especially poignant for me. When I think about the Vietnam veterans, there's always a bit of sadness, not for their service or the war itself, but rather how they were treated when they came home. The war was a deciding moment for many people. It's the first time that everything was televised and viewed by the public. There were strong feelings about the war, and those feelings were reflected in the way our warriors were treated. The lessons at hand and the things that we learned. You may dislike the war, but you must still honor the warrior. We were a nation divided, and you received the brunt of that anger. It's interesting because it's never been discussed or planned, but the Vietnam veterans rose above those feelings as individuals and as a collective. And I'm proud to say that it was the Vietnam veterans who led the charge that no other service member would ever be treated the way they were. And proudly, the generation that have followed have been received home with joy, led by every one of you. While we still have a lot more work to do, we still have brothers and sisters who were never recognized for their service. I have a little story to tell you. As recently as a month ago, I had the honor and privilege of speaking to a veteran who never came into the veterans office before. He didn't talk about his service. He's one of those veterans, you know, those guys who were the places that we weren't. Most of you understand what I'm talking about. And you know, when the president gets on the TV and says we're not a certain place, Cambodia, Laos, Philippines, Thailand, those veterans didn't know where they fell in the big picture of things. Yet those places that one can never talk about, as that veteran sat in my office, not knowing what to say. Was he a Vietnam veteran? He really didn't know. So I stood up out of my chair and had the honor of saying to him, "Welcome home." So welcome home to all the veterans that served our country during Vietnam. Wherever you were, whatever you did, in Vietnam, in the United States, and those other places that we never were, it's my distinct honor to say to you, welcome home. Sorry. It's a topic that I feel passionate about. I have a couple of folks right now who are going to come up and welcome home our Vietnam veterans as well. Mr. Ed Butler from the American Legion.
Good morning, everybody. I really didn't prepare a speech because I didn't know what I was going to talk about. What I really wanted to talk about is my experience this past year. As you all walked into the building, Fred Wagon and I, last Memorial Day, presented the town with a POW MIA chair. Really didn't know what that meant until I really got into the project. And one name that's on it that did not come home, Lieutenant Gerald Kinsman. Back in February, I believe one of his sisters came up from South Carolina, and I wasn't available because I was actually sick, but I wanted to meet the family, and we have one of his other sisters that came on POW Day, and she actually stayed out for about 4 hours out in the common during that rain and everything. So basically, this was a moving experience for me. So even though I was born, and I'm not trying to ruin everybody's day, but I was born after the Vietnam War. But being commander in American Legion and have the Vietnam vets in my legion, a lot of respect for all of you. And I want to say, God bless you, you and your family. And I want to say welcome home. So thank you very much.
Next up, Jim Tregeas from Rolling Thunder Mass Chapter 2.
I did prepare something. Because otherwise she'd have my butt. So as Michelle said, my name is Jim Tregeas and I'm current president of Rolling Thunder, Massachusetts, Chapter 2. And everyone sees my vest and says, what's Rolling Thunder? Well, let me start my speech and hopefully you follow along. I stand here before you, proud and humble member of Rolling Thunder, Massachusetts Chapter 2. My chapter is one of 81 chapters nationwide. We are 100% nonprofit organization made up of volunteers. In order to provide better understanding into what we are all about, please let me read our mission statement. The major function of Rolling Thunder is to publicize the POW MIA issue, to educate the public that many American prisoners of war were left behind after all previous wars, to help correct the past and protect future veterans from being left behind should they become prisoner of war or missing in action. We are also committed to helping American veterans of all wars. It's pretty hefty stuff, isn't it? It's important. I think it's a life cause that I really come to. I'm here to fulfill this first part of the commitment, which is to educate and publicize. Tomorrow, March 29th, 2025, marks the 52nd anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. On this date in 1973, the United States Military Assistance Command, Vietnam, was disestablished. On this date was the last troop transport from Vietnam. Also on or about this date, the last of the prisoners of war released from the Hanoi Hilton. The Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act of 2017 established this March 29th as the Vietnam War Veterans Day. We unite here today to thank and honor Vietnam veterans and their families for their service and their sacrifice. The Vietnam Memorial Wall honors 58,281 lost during the war. More shockingly, there are still thousands of POW MIAs from this war. The Department of Veterans Affairs estimates that there are 7 million U.S. veterans, Vietnam veterans living today, and 10 million families of those who served. Rolling Thunder Incorporated is committed to continuing the search for those POW MIA. We are a constant reminder to the Defense POW Accounting Agency, the DPAA, and the U.S. government that their search must continue until they all come home. Thank you all for coming and listening. Never forget, and welcome home.
Now I have the distinct honor of introducing to you a person who's very special to me, Mr. Joe Marshall. Joe is the founder and president of J. Marshall Associates, which is a financial planning firm that he started in 1989. Although giving 100% to his profession, Joe has over the years used the GI Bill to obtain an associate's degree from Bristol County Community College and a bachelor's degree from UMass Dartmouth. He is the past president of the Fall River Office of Economic Development, former chairman of the Board of Trustees at Bristol County Community College, which there's a building in his name there, founded the Prince Henry Society of Fall River, founder and president of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall Committee. They raised millions of dollars to put that wall up. His military service, he's a Vietnam veteran who served between 1965 and 1967 in the U.S. Air Force, 69 17th Security Squadron, Brindisi, Italy, Morse code interceptor operator, copied, intercepted Russian communications during the Cold War, 1968 to 69, Security Squadron, Ha Trang, Vietnam, airborne radio direction finding, and responsible for locating and identifying the enemy intelligence information in support of ground combat troops. He is married to former Joanne Dussault. Did I say that right, Joe? He has 4 daughters and 9 wonderful grandchildren. Please welcome Joe Marshall.
Thank you, Michelle. She got it all right. Not bad. Thank you for your service, by the way. I hear that a lot when I have my Vietnam veterans hat on, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. You know, I don't know what the response is supposed to be, because it's not like being recognized for doing a good job or helping someone. I had a low lottery number. That's why I went in the service. But I enlisted so that I could pick my branch of service. And I know it was a 4-year commitment to join the Air Force, but their ads and the recruiter said to join the Air Force and they would teach me a skill. I learned Morse code and had airborne radio direction finding skills, which you really can't find in civilian life. I grew up in the 60s in Fall River. Those of you who know Fall River, a lot of high rises. And I don't mean condos, I mean 3 families, 6 families. And I was the oldest of 4 children. My mother and father worked in a mill. So as I went through school, it came time, we all face this at graduation from high school, if you can make it through high school, your graduation through high school. And you have the same choices today as you did then. You could go to work, go to college, and go in the service. And there was no, there's an apartment in the basement for you to live the rest of your life. We didn't have that back in the 60s. You had to pick one of those 3. And since I didn't have any skills, I'm right out of high school, and I didn't have the opportunity to go to college, and I remember this vividly with my father, because he was in the bathroom shaving. We lived on the 2nd floor, and I'm talking to him outside the door, not within arm reach. I stayed outside the door, and we talked about, what am I going to do? He says, well, we can't afford for you to go to college. And he said, you got to go to work. I said, but I don't know how to do anything. And he says, yeah, you're right. You got to go in the service. And the choice, once he laid it out for me, it made sense. So I did. And like I said earlier, I joined the Air Force. You all know, it's nothing like you think it is. And so I went through my tech school. They give you these aptitude tests. You don't even know why you're taking them. But my first assignment was the 69 17th Security Squadron in Brindisi, Italy. And I was there for 18 months. And it was during the Cold War, so we were in Italy copying signals of Russia, mostly it was manifest, who were on the airplanes that they were moving around. But I did that. But one of the distinctions, and not everybody has this, and when I was there in 1967, the way our positions were set up, believe me, it's archaic now, We had a Morse code position, you had a teletype position, and you had a voice position. And people would, the enemy, or whoever we were copying, would switch off. So we had to have all three synced. And in 1967, I copied the flight of Vladimir Komarov. Yeah. He was a Russian cosmonaut that burned into the atmosphere, and it burned on contact. Now the Russians said it was an unmanned space shuttle, but we knew other than that. So eventually that did come out. But so I have that distinction of how propaganda works. You know, the truth back then, maybe even now, is just part of the equation. So back then, that was my thing with Italy. So Italy, 18 months later, I came back. I was assigned to Kelly Air Force Base in Texas. I went home, got married, returned to Texas with an assignment, my first piece of mail, assignment to go to Nha Trang, Vietnam. And which, you know, we're newlyweds, and my wife, new wife, kind of fell apart. But I'm still today. I'm very practical. I talked about, well, we're going to save money. You know, I'll get combat pay. We'll do this. You'll go home, live with your mother. You've done that before, and everything's going to be all right. And we did. That's exactly what happened. I got there in '68, which was in the middle of the Tet Offensive, and I didn't know what a Tet Offensive was. I just knew all the noise, all the noise. It was mostly what it was. The lights, the skies were lit up, and I'm talking to one of the fellows that were driving me to the base, and I'm saying, "Holy shit! I can't believe this. I'm going to live here for 12 months and listen to this." He said, "Oh no, this is what they're doing," and da 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 da. But anyway, I didn't sleep for 5 days, and eventually we all do. We adjust. And we realize, you know, you always got to be on guard. You always got to be on guard. Now, where I was stationed, it was a security base. It was the 6994th Security Squadron. So we had special forces around our perimeter. On one side, we had the beach, and anybody that went on R&R, in-country R&R, they would come to Nha Trang because of the beaches, because of the bars, because of you couldn't get out of country. So. So it was, there's no good duty in Vietnam, but if you got to be there, that would be the place to be. So as a member of the flight crew, we flew in an EC. It was a modified C-47, but it was an EC-47, meaning it was electronic. We were, as Michelle mentioned, we were locating, identifying enemy field radio transmitters. Now, the Viet Cong had terrible equipment. I mean, we couldn't hear it. I don't know how they even heard it. But anyway, we were supposed to copy that, and it was very difficult. But we did it. Obviously, we did it. So we were to identify enemy field radio transmitting using the direction finder. And the idea behind that was to spot movement of enemy troops. If they were moving toward our troops, we were able to determine what direction they were going, and never how many, but we would fly. I think of it now, and it's like suicide. We would fly 7 to 9 hours, hour missions at about 2,000 feet, which isn't high. It sounds high, 2,000 feet. But if we went any higher, that we started at 5 and it came down to 2. We couldn't hear the signals, so our job was to copy signals. So the pilot had to bring us down. That's just over the treetops. It's not real high. So and sometimes our plane was disguised as a propaganda plane, throwing out leaflets over the villages, encouraging the North Vietnamese soldiers to defect under the U.S. amnesty program. There were times where we conducted night intelligence gathering missions, monitor the enemy traffic flowing up and down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And I remember the first time, and I was there maybe 3 months. I remember the first time that one of our EC-47s didn't come back. And we were shot at. There's no getting away. Didn't know what was going to happen. But that was a real gut punch for me, because guys that I ate and drank with just the day before, I'm not going to see them anymore. So that made it even, it was real, but that really made it real. Our troops, well, you guys, fought a guerrilla enemy in its own backyard. The enemy was determined, they were smart, they were resourceful, and could attack and just melt into the jungle. We also fought the monsoon rains for days at a time. The heat was 100 and 110, mosquitoes, the smell of diesel fuel and sulfur. And one of the things, you don't know me very well, but when I got out of the service, that was behind me. I never really thought about it. Well, I thought about it, but what would happen is certain things would happen, like a smell or a sight, and I would reflect back on them. And it became even more prominent after I started working with the veterans on the Vietnam Wall project. But those things, you never lose those things. People would say, well, what does it smell like? Yeah. You have to be there. A lot of water has flown under the bridge since I was in Vietnam. I did return somewhat in one piece. I used the GI Bill, started a family, started a career. And what did the military teach me? Well, it taught me how to work together, show respect, individual commitment, and to complete the mission. And I thank God every day for the opportunities that I've been given to never forget, as Jim would say. But as far as missions are concerned, that's where I segue to the Vietnam Wall, because we had an opportunity to have the Vietnam Wall, which was, I'll just give you a little bit of background on it, and this is the best part of it for me anyway. The never forget portion. I mean, that's there permanently. It's wherever it is in the country, but that's there permanently, and that gives us the opportunity for all of us never to forget. I mean, I've got friends on that wall, and I know exactly three. I know exactly where they are. I know exactly what happened to them. But one of the things, I can't tell what people think, but all these people had families. And I wonder sometimes, what happened to the wife or the kids that grew up. I think a bit more when I went to Normandy, because when I went to Normandy, I took pictures of some of the graves from Massachusetts, and I came back and I Googled them, and you could find some information. Well, I did some of that with these people, but most of what I Googled and found out was, who they were the day they died. You didn't really get a lot of information on the families, but that, to me, that's the most important. We can find monuments a lot of different places, but to me, and I'm not selling anything, this monument really allows people to reflect, and I've got some stories that people have relayed to me and have told me about, but to give you a little bit of information on this, this took 4 years to make, to construct, raise money, and in 2 years of COVID, but we were able to do whatever we had to do with the help of the state. The state was, and the local people. The replica stands 360 feet long, 8 feet high at the apex in the middle, and has engraved, as Jim said, over 58,000 names. 1,350 from Massachusetts, 211 from Rhode Island. A couple of statistics, 8,000 of the names, 8,282 were just 19 years old. The largest age group was 33,000, they were 18 years old. 5 soldiers were 16. The first known casualty was Richard Fitzgibbons of North Weymouth, Mass., and he was killed in 1956. 997 soldiers were killed on their first day in Vietnam. 1,400 soldiers were killed on their last day. 8 women are on the wall. I know I'm supposed to talk about me, but this is more important. They were all true heroes, and heroes don't die as long as you remember them. Fortunately, our stories are still being written, and we can dedicate ourselves to help fellow veterans whenever and wherever you can. That's my mission, and I know a lot of people, that's their mission too. And again, I appreciate Michelle having me here, because she knows I like to talk, and I appreciated that. But that's what I'd like to talk about. The mission is to continue to remember, and the Gold Star Families, that's an outstanding organization. That's right in front of you. These people but they're right in front of you, the people that you left behind and the children you left behind. But that's all I have. Thank you. Well, I don't want to take your stuff. Okay. You'll be in the middle of it.
Thanks for that, and for any of the Foxborough veterans in the room, we will be visiting the wall in June. So sign-ups will start for that soon. I'm grateful that we can all go down there. So the next part, I need Mark and Paige, please. Wherever you want to do it. We have the honor to pin all of the Vietnam veterans here in the room. If you are a Vietnam veteran who has not been pinned, please come forward at this time. You guys don't know.
I'm going to do Bob, because I know. Thank you. That's nice, we do. I've never pinned anyone, so.
Don't hurt them.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and he's the heaviest lapel.
She might pin her herself.
Oh, my God.
Paige, do you need help?
You did not warn me I was doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
You get your money.
Hello, hi, what's your name?
And so that you know, the people up front here who are doing the pinning, Mark is my boss, actually, the Director of Human Services, and Paige is our town manager, administrator. So.
I have seen you before. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And for coming home.
Appreciate it.
Oh, was it?
Don't touch that.
You didn't know that?
They'll roll. I got a plan, buddy.
All right.
Love the shirt. Thank you very much. Big business, great place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Do you want me to do it?
I thought that.
Okay, come on up, Bob. Okay, let Paige do that.
Hi, I'm Paige Duckett. Did you get enough? Thank you, sir. And for coming home.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Don't leave yet.
Okay.
Then 6 days at sea, then it was to the Caribbean to 4 hours. Oh my God, this is like having 2 vacations in one.
Oh,
I want to say once, St. Thomas, Jamaica, Airbnb, we just do the beach once.
beach house.
Hello.
How nice is that? And then it ends in
Last one.
Tampa.
Last
Paige
but not
Duncan,
least.
nice to meet you. What's your, thank you for your service. Thank you for coming home, for all you did. Coming today. Well, you did though. The fact is you were there and you never know what you did. There you go. My first time pinning anybody.
Now I'd like to ask any Vietnam veterans who've already been pinned to please come forward. That's you, Tom. So if you're a Vietnam veteran and you've already been pinned, please come up. Ah, y'all thought you'd get out of it. Have you met me?
Oh, okay. Yep. Thank you very much for your service. Hello. Thank you very much for your service. We'd like to. Thank you.
What the hell's this pack?
Thanks, Ron.
Oh boy, here's trouble.
No trouble from me.
Thank you very much for your service. Can't take credit for it, but give it all to Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, she does get a lot. She deserves it. Thank you very much. Hello.
Why am I here again?
Okay.
Can I have a flag?
Yeah, of course, they're on the table. They should be up.
what-
Grab them. Yeah. Okay, any other Vietnam veterans in the room who have already been pinned? Come on forward if we got.
Everything's on the phone. Passports, all that stuff. Just giving out presents today. You came to the right place. Yeah.
Hey Dennis, I thought you wanted one of these.
I get special because I have big. And it's just a beach. It's okay. You didn't want to come?
I'm bossy.
No, Roma, yeah.
Did everybody get a pin? Everybody's all set? Now the good part. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody in this room for being here. I got a list. Thank you to Mark and Paige for putting up with me, and Lauren, the greatest counterpart that I could actually ask for. Thanks to Foxborough TV for being here today. Thank you so much to the VFW, the Legion, Rolling Thunder, and the Veterans Services Advisory Committee. You guys make us look good. Thank you so much to the veterans and their families, and to all the people who support us. Joe Marshall, thanks so much for coming out today. We really appreciate your service, and I guess we're gonna eat.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, wait, I got one more thing.
This is
One
for
more.
you, Michelle.
I got one more thing. Kara, would you come up here, please? Sometimes the universe works in ways that you don't really understand. We had Jamie from the Norfolk County Sheriff's Office come in, and yesterday she emailed me that she couldn't make it, but she was going to send Catherine and Kara. Kara's uncle was killed in action in Vietnam. John H. Cole. He was a United States Marine, born to John and Mary Cole on March 9th, 1948. He was from South Boston High School, enlisted in the United States Marine Corps on November 20th, 1967. He proudly served with Company B, 3rd Combat Engineer Battalion, 3rd Marines. He was stationed at the fire support base, Quang Trang, Vietnam, when the North Vietnamese army struck it with 140 millimeter rockets. He was killed by fragmentation wounds to the head and body. He received for extraordinary heroism, awarded the Purple Heart, the Navy Presidential Citation. His body was returned to Mattapan and services honored at the South Boston Vietnam Veterans Memorial. I just want to recognize your uncle's service and give you one of the Vietnam books.
Thank you so much.
And I also want to give you his pen.
Thank you for that.
I almost forgot. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's kind of what happens when things happen last minute and they don't get on the schedule. But thanks so much for coming here. We've got folks from all over the place. We have Truck from the Veterans Advocacy. We have the ladies from the Norfolk County Vets. We have Jamie from the Patriots. We've just got so many folks here to support us. So before we eat, I'm going to ask Pastor Dudley to come up and say a prayer, please.
When I was a kid, I heard stories from my cousin who was on a Navy ship shelling North Vietnam. So I understood the fear of serving in Vietnam. As a pastor, I look out the window of my church and I see the memorial to Robert Curry, who died in Vietnam, whose dad was my boss at one point in my life. So I understand the sacrifice of those who gave all. I was mentored in ministry by a pastor about a dozen years older than me who one day casually pulled up his pant leg to show me a bullet hole in his calf. So I understood that those who came back paid a great price too. When my daughter was 19 and pregnant and scared and not sure what would happen, I watched on C-SPAN as a Vietnam vet who had seen it all and was afraid of nobody, walked into the Senate chamber in Washington, D.C., looked at the leaders of his own party, and voted no to get rid of the health care system that was protecting my daughter. And I saw the courage of those who served alive in my own society. I remember as a kid the way you were treated when you came back and how appalled my father was. So it's with sincere respect and gratitude that I say thank you for your service, sincerely. Could we pray together? Heavenly Father, we thank you for the freedom that we enjoy in this nation, which is unlike any other. And we do so with your blessing, but also by the courage and stamina of those who have defended that freedom in far places on earth, again and again in various generations. Thank you for each one who is here and all their comrades who have preserved our freedom by giving of themselves courageously. Bless each of them and their families, we ask, and this food to us, for which we thank you. In your name, amen.
So we're going to have you guys go up by table.